Fellow seekers of knowledge, I welcome you today into a journey into the uncharted territories of human consciousness. Actually, more toward the augmented state of consciousness. A state of consciousness is actually how we perceive space, time, and also self. Imagine if you have your ordinary state of consciousness as being in a city like this, bustling, routine, the places is familiar, all around you is kind of part of the decor. Space for you is familiar, time flows linearly, and you have a perception of yourself as you are at an everyday basis. Now imagine other states of consciousness which are a little bit deeper. Maybe that what you've experienced through hypnosis, or maybe other experience as meditation. Those places are more like a dense forest where you actually have not the whole picture of thing and you feel like you're deeper within yourself. In an augmented state of consciousness, actually, you will get what we call a panoramic view of yourself. Rather than having, in the previous one, in the forest, a sense of space, time, and even self, that it could be distorted. Space could be larger or narrower. Time can flow faster or slower, or even you can feel dissociated about yourself. In this kind of state, you kind of see the same things. Time would flow differently, space could be different, but you will have a higher sense of self with a higher purpose. And this particular state actually brings you opportunities, not only, for mystics, but a lot of people have used those like innovators, scientists, artists, and it can also be used for as well as healing and evolution. One of the thing about augmented state of consciousness is not to leave this reality per se, but rather to expand our mind to encompass a lot more of what is already seen by our eye or our perception of everything around us. So the thing is not to escape reality, but rather to engage in something a lot bigger. And that's what actually Carl Jung used to say. He said that people who are prone to mental illness is because they are dissociated from themselves. There's a separation between conscious and unconscious, a gap of sort. And what the augmented state of consciousness enables is that it can probably bridge the gap between those two states, making you whole as a person. And that's what actually advocated the wholeness of the self. And that's the part of what we want to use in those augmented state of consciousness. As I said earlier, lots of people have used those augmented state of consciousness to bring a whole lot of gifts to our world and humanity as a whole. If you take, for example, Salvador Dali, who was a painter with a lot of bizarre painting that seems to be dreamlike or from your dreamscape. He used those methods. It could be augmented state of consciousness or a dreamlike state into paintings. You have also Aldous Huxley, who is an author and philosopher, who wrote The Doors of Perception, a book talking about the augmented state of consciousness. And he used those states as well into writing this book. And Jim Morrison from The Doors, who in his music, as everybody knows, has a dreamlike and altered perception of reality. And those made them very famous. Scientists too uses augmented state of consciousness. The first one is Dmitry Mendeleev, who actually dreamt about the periodic table of elements. And as he was trying to put together those kind of things that you've learned about chemistry, at one time he just woke up and wrote it all down in one shot. That was pretty impressive. Another chemist is Kekulé, who actually came up with the structure, the chemical structure of benzene, as he was dreaming in front of his fireplace in an altered state of consciousness. He saw in his mind an ancient symbol of the snake biting its own tail, which is called the Ouroboros. And then he came up with that structure. And to this day, the legend still lives on. And as everybody know, Alfred Einstein, who wanted to make, sense of the theory of relativity, special relativity, actually saw himself riding a beam of light, and he was able to come up with that particular theory. So that's very interesting. And not only scientists and artists, but also innovators like Nikola Tesla, who used to be all the time in a dreamlike state, augmented state of consciousness as well. And he came up, as you know, with many inventions. Also, the same thing goes for Thomas Edison, who actually wanted to just doze off with balls of steels in his hand. And when he was about to fall asleep, he would drop one of those steel balls on the floor, and that would wake him up, and he would capture this particular idea he had. And of course, he's credited with the invention of the light bulb and the phonograph. And last but not least is our friend from Apple, Steve Jobs, who actually used meditation as well to come up to think differently, as the words from Apple used to say. So this is really interesting, but the goal here is not necessarily to talk about all those famous people, about how they use that, but rather to come up with my own personal story. As you heard in the introduction, I received many people, many clients and students who came to undertake hypnosis sessions. And although results were great and people came to a greater consciousness, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about myself and how I came to use augmented state of consciousness in my own daily life. Olivier Leclerc, at one point, when he came to teach at one of the school, I was using other type of hypnosis at the time. And as I was listening to his teaching, I was literally drinking his word, and now he's a good friend of mine. On the third day, I actually felt like I had cramps in my stomach, like some sort of information indigestion. It was too much information. And during the break, I came to him and said, "You know what? I don't feel well. I mean, keep listening to you. You bring all those stuff. It feels like my mind is about to explode, and I just don't feel well." And he smiled at me very benevolently and said, "It will pass. Come to talk to me tomorrow." So the day passed. I went back home. I had a strange night, vivid dreams. I tossed and turned. And on the next day, when I came to the classroom, everything seems to have changed. Actually, I felt like space was a lot bigger, more vast. It seems that time would flow very slowly. And I was filled with a feeling of calm and confidence, and I was grounded. And to this day, this feeling never left me. I always felt like that. It changed for me the way I perceive things. Not that things are an illusion by itself, but there's more than meets the eye into the states of altered consciousness. So I'm a scientist, so I was curious, and there's a lot of scientists who are interested into those particular state of consciousness, augmented consciousness. And this gentleman there, Dr. Mario Beauregard, is actually one of the top scientists who study those states. And he published many studies, but I wanted to show you, because I'm a geek, so I like to play with my own brain. So I use a very small ECG to take brain waves of myself when I'm actually in that state of augmented consciousness. And what you can see, so this is not science, it's just a fun experiment I did in my living room, so don't take that for gospel. But I just wanted to show you that over a 10-minute session, so in that state, actually my brain was active 1 second. So it's still active, so don't worry. But it was active 1 second, and I was for about almost 2 minutes on a neutral state, but calm was more than 8 minutes. So where my brainwave was just saying, "You're calm." So it's not, what I want to tell you is that those augmented state of consciousness are not a magic cure-all, really. It's just a tool to help you to live better in what you want to do in your life. So with that, of course, you know the saying, with great power comes great responsibilities. So for what I want to tell you is that it's twofold. First, we should keep a sense of wonder about the augmented state of consciousness. Wonder because it makes us, believe more in life, find a self of living as well, oneself into this world. So as a philosopher, I like to ask the question of, what's the meaning of life? So if you're living a good life, if you're happy, then augmented state of consciousness help you towards that. And the other thing is having a sense of responsibility, because we should use that not only to better ourselves, but also to better mankind. So it's kind of a one for all and all for one, right? If you take a grain of sand on the beach and you make it clean, then suddenly the whole beach is cleaner, right? So if it's just with one person, then you can benefit the whole humanity with it. And that's what actually Carl Jung used to say, is that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So, is there something that you think in your life has been left to fate? Something that is just within your grasp and you would like to change? And you would say to me, well, Danny, how can we experiment an augmented state of consciousness? So there's a reason why I'm the first speaker this morning. Life never does anything not on purpose. So if you would like to experiment that, I would be willing to just give you a sample of what it could be, what you can use in your life. So if you would close your eyes, if you would like that, and would just imagine yourself in that city. You know, when I said things that are familiar to you that you haven't noticed yet, it could be the way you're sitting, your position on your chair, how comfortable you are, your feet on the ground, and even maybe the temperature in the room. It was all there before, but you just haven't noticed it yet. And just by doing that, you actually expand your consciousness. And you can go a little bit further, right? If you pay attention to your breathing, you know, between you and I, you were already breathing before I asked you the question. Now you're just more conscious about it. And to push it even more, to expand on it, the very air you're breathing has been here for millions and millions of years. It has been circulating through life, going through flowers, plants, animal, famous people that might not even exist today. And as you breathe in the memory of the ages, that you know that each breath of air that you take has some sort of humidity on it. Water, right? Very small particles of water. And you are made of water as well. 70% of your body, right? And strangely, it's about the same amount of water we have on Earth, 70%. And this water too has been here since the beginning of time. And this water has been circulating through life over and over again. And it brings you life as well, oxygen in your body. And that oxygen gets linked to your red blood cells, which has iron on it, right? It's the same iron that was made from the stars that cooled down since the beginning of the Big Bang. It's like there's a point of junction where we are all one. And you can maybe already feel that as you're thinking about all of this, you were not in the same state or at the same place in your mind that you were before you closed your eyes. And if you're in that state, I want you to take that opportunity just to reach out to what you would like to have in your life that would make you more happy today. Could it be my fellow speakers or you that came here to learn something or experience something? Just put it in your thoughts. Just send it out, as we say, in the universe, and be patient. Just like a seed you just sowed, just wait for it to bloom and to collect what you actually want. So on that, please open your eyes, and I wish you a very, very surprising life. Thank you.